Hi, it's Will from StormyCastle.com, and this is the second video in a two-part series about diorama water. And in the first video I showed you how to make this waterfall here. Looks really terrific. And I did that one first because that's kind of fun. That's a lot more fun to make a waterfall. It's very dramatic. In this second half of the tutorial series, I'm going to show you how to do various water effects. I'm going to explain to you how to make water for your diorama, you know, and how to make waves and stuff like that, and frothing and all kinds of stuff like that. And so let me launch right into some of the materials that you can use for this, to do something like this. First off, to make the actual water, that's the hardened shell here that you can pour in, there's a couple of different products you can use. One is Realistic Water by a company called Woodland Scenics, and this stuff is really neat and convenient. You simply pour it in and let it dry, but you have to pour it in actual small doses. They recommend about 1/8 of an inch thick. Let it dry, pour another layer 1/8 of an inch thick, and let it dry. So it does take some time. Other than that, you can use something called a clear casting epoxy. And this one's made by this particular brand is called Easy Cast. You mix up two parts of epoxy, and then you pour them in whatever you want them to harden in, and then it hardens. Now the differences between these two, you can pour this thicker, and also you can that actually, when it's done, the clear casting epoxy will be much harder. It'll be like glass, very hard. The Realistic Water doesn't get really quite like glass. It still has a little bit of resiliency to it. It's almost like a sheet of vinyl or something like that. So after that, let's look at a couple of things. You want to get, like, say, around your waterfall. You want to make waves in your water, ripples, stuff like that. There's a few different products you can use. I recommend you get something called a glazing medium, or a gloss gel medium. These are art supplies that artists use, and what they are is they have a certain amount of substance to them. Like, for instance, I'll show you this here. And so you pour that, you can use that, and see how it has shape to it? So that will maintain most of its shape. So you can form this into waves, see? Ripples, waves, and then let it dry. And it will dry clear, which is important. Liquitex makes these products, and they're called glazing mediums, or gloss gel. So you got gloss gel heavy, and you get gloss gel medium, and the heavy will give you larger waves and larger shapes. So if you wanted to, you could add dye to it or paint to it, and then apply it, or after it's applied and dried, you can paint it. You can see a couple of things. Nice things is, I don't know how well you can see it, but the blue starts out darker and then gets lighter towards the shore. And in the lagoon there, the grotto, the blue actually turns into a nice green. Has a nice look. Now, when thinking about the edge of the water and the bottom of the riverbank and the edge of the water here, you might want to add some small stones, give it a little bit of a rocky appearance. And when we pour the water in, it'll cover that. And I use something called talus. This is used by railroad, it's rock debris. But you can get little tiny pebbles, and, you know, even sand will work for that. So you dab on a big glob of glue, and then you drop the talus in there, sprinkle it on, so it locks in place. Okay, what I've done here is I've sealed off both ends of the river, just so we can pour the river water material in there. So make a nice seal on the end so we don't lose it. That looks good. And you can use a fan to speed up the drying. I have a hairdryer set up here on cool setting, and so if you use a fan or something, you can actually blow air over the water, and it will dry significantly quicker, a couple of hours rather than like 24 hours. Okay, when working with the Realistic Water, and say you're working on your flat surfaces of water, you can actually, as it's drying, you can actually tinker with this. Like, for instance, I want to have some waves here, around the waterfall. You can actually, you can feel it. You got to keep on top of it and watch it over the course of a day. You can use tools to put ripples in that water. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do some ocean wave effects and some lapping at the shore water effects. And what I'm going to use is a couple of different products called gloss gel, Liquitex. And what I'll do is, after it dries, the peaks of those waves, I will paint them just very slightly with white acrylic paint. So it looks like the peaks of the waves are, frothing. And say you want to go to I'm using the medium there. So now let's say let's use the heavy. You get a lot more body and shape out of the heavy. It's just much thicker. And just like everything else, the gradation is important. Particularly with diorama making, you want to, so we have our big waves out here, and then you have a transition to smaller waves towards the shore. Okay, once that's dried, you can very carefully with white paint do a little bit of highlighting to make froth on the top of the waves.